Woo! On a little 5-miler this morning. Probably get in 1,200 feet of elevation gain. And when you're in the pain cave, I ain't even in it right now. I don't hit the running pain cave till at least mile 6. But running up mountains early in the morning, still, there's some fire in my legs, in my heart, and in my brain. And so what I like to do when I'm trying to overcome some little self-inflicted difficult obstacle, like a freaking morning steep trail run, is think about the times when I was in true danger, near-death experiences. Get back to those traumatic moments in my past. Gotta power walk this part. When you're on mile 3 and you hit a 9% grade, it's time for film a YouTube video and get some power walking in. So I'm gonna give you guys 3 near-death experiences I've had in my life, what happened, how I felt, and what I learned from overcoming them to live to tell the tale. First one is just gonna be about biking through Canada and Alaska. As you know, I got here to Costa Rica on a bicycle. Took 2 full years, over 700 days on the road. No hitchhiking, no buses, no cars, to ride my little bicycle from Anchorage, Alaska, here to the mountains of Costa Rica. A 15,000 mile journey alone. Just Maggie and I. And believe it or not, the first couple months were the hardest of the entire 2 years. Sure, there were unique difficulties in Central America as well. Extreme heat, lack of accommodations, bot flies, mosquitoes. But biking through Alaska and the Yukon province in British Columbia of Canada, those were some hard times. I started my trip late. Started in September. Sane people would start in May or June. But I made an impulsive decision to fly to Alaska with my bicycle back in 2017. And the first few months, pretty much from Anchorage down to California, was extreme cold. I'm talking close to 0-degree temperatures most days Celsius, 30 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit most days, for 3 months straight alone. All of September, October, November, and December. 4 months to get down to LA. And there were days when this was before Maggie. I rescued Maggie when I got to LA. So I was putting out big miles because I wanted to get to those warmer climates. And it was the most rural and remote part of my trip, the Yukon province in British Columbia, Canada. There were sometimes 2 or 3 days in a row where I would not see a sign on the road, a store to buy water or food or get warm. I was literally a nomad on a bicycle, living outside, biking 70 miles a day. So I had a lighter load at that point without Maggie. And I was exhausted. Sometimes I'd run out of water. And in order to get some in nature, I'd have to climb down a steep cliff to a river, seeing wild beavers and elk and bison, just alone out there pushing my body. I would sometimes, most times, have to sleep outside. No, not in a designated campsite. I'd be biking on the Alaska Highway, it's called, that goes all the way down to Vancouver. Passing bears, I shit you not. Imagine being in the middle of a dirt road or gravel road, no cars around. A car passes once every hour or two, and you're on a bicycle with bear spray in your pocket, biking, tired, parched, hungry. You look up ahead and you see a mama black bear with her 2 cubs crossing the road, saying, damn, I hope she's not hungry, because she'll come after me if she is. I lived through that for weeks, a month or 2. I'd see a bear every week in the road, no one around. I'd have to wait like a wild animal not being hunted, and then bike past her fast when she went back into the jungle, into the rainforest up there in Canada. Not the jungle, but it is a rainforest. And those were moments when I feared my life for sure. But really, the scary part was when it was time to go to bed. Try to imagine this. Try to put yourself in my shoes. You bike 70 miles alone. Maybe talk to 1 or 2 people who are driving by and decide to stop and ask you if you're okay. Throughout the whole day, you see some bears maybe an hour or 2 ago, and it's starting to get dark, and you simply look left, look right. It looks like this, no houses, no structures, no sign of life around. And you just wander into the forest. Try to find a flat place in the middle of the thick wooded forest where you know for a fact bears are all around. And it's freezing. And you have some pasta and can of beans and peanut butter in your bags. And you pitch a tent in the forest, cold and alone. Cook up some pasta and beans, hoping that a bear doesn't smell it and come end your life right there. And then get into your tent, just a thin piece of fabric protecting you, and go to sleep, passing out for 10 hours because you're so tired, hoping that a bear doesn't wander through. And I'd wake up every morning so grateful I didn't die. And let's say I found a rusty, broken down trailer on the side of a river. I would stop, knock on it, not knowing if there were junkies or animals inhabiting it, or it was abandoned. And I would get in there, dirty and disgusting, and sleep in there like a feral animal. And let's say there were people in there. I knocked on a number of sketchy houses and trailers up in those northern countries, the northern land, and found some indigenous First Nations people or sketchy ass white cracked out meth smoking individuals who I would ask, vulnerable, hey, you mind if I can stay in your place tonight? And sometimes they'd shut the door on my face and I'd go into the forest and sleep outside. Sometimes they'd let me in and I had to sleep amongst the chitter chatter of a crack pipe burning or them belligerently drinking. That happened dozens, maybe hundreds of times when you consider those times happening in Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, where I biked through not knowing anyone as well. And in those moments, I definitely would fear my life for a little bit. So that's one, that whole chapter of my life was at any moment could have been a near-death experience for a variety of reasons. Now the next one is an actual near-death experience. I almost died, almost lost limbs. And in this story, there were people in this story that did die, that I knew. Back in 2014, I led a backpacking trip for my college with 4 other students, and I was the leader. It was November. We drove into Utah from Colorado, around Canyonlands National Park. The ranger had told us there'd be 1 to 5 inches of snow that week, so that's what we prepared for. To make a long story short, after night 1, after descending 10 miles into the canyon, we woke up to a foot of snow. And the next day, 2 feet. And we found ourselves 15, 20 miles into a canyon away from our car where we parked on the trailhead in thigh-deep snow I was wearing trail runners just like this. Frozen everything. Not a drop of sun. The snow never let up for 4 full days. And we had to sleep. No visibility, couldn't see a trail, had no idea. We had an idea roughly of where we were, but not how to get to our car or get out of this canyon in about 25-degree weather. Me leading in the wilderness alone, abandoned, snowed in, frozen fingers, frozen feet, everything covered in ice. That was scary. We met a man on the first day before the sun came down, an older man who was camping in that canyon too, who said he just goes in that canyon for a few months a year to escape civilization. But we kept trekking, walking a mile every 4 or 5 hours. The snow was so deep. Me and my friends crying, scared, me having to keep it all together, but butterflies in my heart nonstop. We had to climb on all fours through the snow, up a sheer canyon wall. Finally, we got up to the mesa. We woke up on day 4 or 5. School had already started. We were supposed to be home by then. We were literally stuck in the wilderness. And we woke up the 4th or 5th morning to sun. And that's when a helicopter who was looking for us, because my parents had known we were supposed to be home by then, and I hadn't called them. That's when the Forest Service emergency rescued us on snowmobiles using a helicopter to find us. They said they've been trying to find us for 2 days. I had such adrenaline going. I told them, yeah, it was a scary 4 or 5 days. We're so glad you found us, but we're fine, don't worry. We got to go back to school. And they said, haha, we're taking you to the hospital. I didn't know what they meant. My adrenaline was going so hard in my head. I thought I was fine. We got to some tiny hospital in Utah. They took off my shoes. My feet were black and purple. They soaked our feet in room temperature water, and my feet swole up to balloons. They couldn't even fit in my size 13 Croc. The pain was like, imagine feeling like your feet are made of glass and they're just being broken with a hammer over and over again. If I put even the slightest touch or pressure on the ground, it would feel like they were being hit harder. So I had to live with crutches, bedridden, for a few weeks back in Colorado. My dad came to help me get groceries and go to the bathroom. All my friends got mild frostbite as well, but mine was the worst because I didn't have the proper footwear, so I wasn't expecting it. Expectations can really screw you. I'm gonna get to what I learned from all these after I explain them all. So I recovered about 4 months later. I got the feeling back in my feet, but it was a dark few months of not knowing if I'd ever get sensation in my feet and toes again. All my fingernails fell off, and now I have permanent nerve damage. It's one of the reasons I live in the tropics. I feel so comfortable being warm all the time, and I get anxiety and PTSD when I get cold because my feet just send off alarms that they're in danger. Last one. It's when I had an eating disorder. Spent 2 full years undernourishing myself to the point where I was even thinner than I am now. I had no energy. I lost my sex drive. I had to measure out my food and count my calories in fear of getting fat. I lost my social life. I got blood work and my thyroid was all messed up. I was broken. no sexual drive, hypothyroidism. And my day I couldn't do anything productive with my day other than get through the day in class because I was in college, and run or exercise, which I wasn't even performing well in, but I had to do it to burn calories, to love myself. And the darkest part was when my parents and I knew there was a problem. We addressed it. We tried to go to therapy, but it didn't work. I was too stubborn. And in recovery, you really can't get better until you're ready. It doesn't matter how much therapy or support you have, that helps, but you have to find it within yourself. And for some reason, it took me full 2 years of under eating and over exercising till I slapped myself in the face and said, you deserve better than this. You deserve to be happy, to feel worthy, and to do something with your life instead of be a victim to your self-harm addiction. That's what made me start my YouTube channel, but that was kind of a near-death experience as well. You can only get away with self-harm for so long, until you really do the real self-harm where you can't recover from it. So what do all those lessons of near-death experiences I've had, what do they teach me and how do I feel? In each one of those experiences, you feel a lack of control. And that's good and bad. It's scary in the moment because we humans, we want to control our lives and the outcome. But this is also where the lesson comes in. Life is inherently out of your control. Do you want to die? No. I'm guessing if you're not depressed, you enjoy life to a degree, you want to keep living. But guess what? The only thing we know to be true in the world is that everybody dies. That's one of the truest truths that we know. No one's ever escaped it. And the more we try to control things in our life, there's some things that should be controlled. You can try to control your diet to a degree. Eat healthy. Don't do drugs. Stack your odds in life for success. But ultimately, you're going to if you take risks in life and try to make something of your life, you're going to get into a situation where you can't control it and shit's going to go down. And in that moment, you have the choice to accept, to work as hard as you can to overcome this obstacle while also accepting that you've gone into a territory where you might die. I didn't have to ride my bike from Alaska to Costa Rica. That was a choice that I thought I could control pretty well until I found myself shivering, scared with bears around me. Or a backpacking trip. I had a backpack and gloves, but that wasn't enough to control my safety. If you go for it in life, you want to experience some wild shit like I do, you're going to have to accept that life is about doing your best, stacking your odds for success, while also accepting that shit's out of your control. I can't believe I didn't get hit by a truck on my bike tour. That was out of my control, but I accepted that might happen. That might result in my death. Thankfully, it didn't. Those lessons also taught me to slow down. And you might say, you're not that good at that, Jackson. You keep pushing yourself physically. I keep running in the mountains and rivers, doing crazy plant medicine experiences, putting a lot of risk and responsibility, putting together a retreat center. You know what? It's how I like to live life. And I've already accepted that shit's out of my control. All I can do is the best I can to control. And then 80% of it is just surrendering to the outcome. And you know what? I'm so connected to the philosophy that I'm going to die and that nothing's going to matter at that point, that I choose to live life fucking hard and risk-taking, and that gives me the most rewards because I'm satisfied with failure, because I don't think there is such thing as failure. It's just a different outcome. It's scary, but it's less scary than living in fear. But those experiences have taught me to be a little less crazy. So I do value thinking ahead, planning ahead, strategizing, thinking about if this risk is worth the consequence, because I know consequences always come. But they've really just taught me gratitude and to appreciate that I'm here today, safe, filled with love and opportunity in my life. And there were a lot of moments in my recent past, in my young life, I'm 28 years old, where my life could have been taken from me. So every day that I'm healthy and happy like I am today is literally so much sweeter than if I had lived a life of safety without risks. Because I wouldn't appreciate that every waking minute, that I'm not being eaten by a bear or in prison with a eating disorder or stuck in a freezing slot canyon in Utah, not knowing if I'd be rescued. So gratitude, slow down, accept the consequences of your actions, surrender to try to control everything, work hard, live hard, do your best to be safe, and be okay with the outcome when it doesn't work out. How else can you do it? That's what that stuff has taught me. And I have no regrets. All those experiences have made me a better person. The person I am today. And I love myself today. So why don't you tell me any near-death experiences you've had, what you've learned? Would you change it? Did it change you for the better? Tell me how you overcome the trauma. I overcome it by talking about it, making YouTube videos about it, sharing, talking to my loved ones, letting that PTSD escape me so that I can just see all these life experiences as experiences, that's all. Whew. And who knows what is to come. I'm guessing having kids is going to be the next craziest risk I make in my life, with such dire emotional consequences for better and for worse. And I'm not saying I'm doing that very soon, but in life in general, that's going to be a trip. So much love, Dream Extreme. Thanks for listening. You guys mean a lot to me, to be able to talk like this and hear your responses. So much love, Dream Extreme. Keep it up. I'm going to keep running.